female. Just like the male, the biological male, the biological female also has masculine attributes, although to a lesser extent. And depending on how big this extent is, it determines her fitness to play the role that the female type is supposed to play within the procreative game. Because of the risks entailed in gestating and raising an offspring, particularly in larger brained species such as the human one, where the offspring takes 6, 7, 8 years to be weaned. The female has to have a particular demeanor. First of all, she has to have a particular demeanor in order to accept the approach of a larger male, then to accept the insertion of a penis within her body. And then she has to develop the mechanisms, the physical and the mental, in order to accept foreign elements within her, being the sperm or the developing fetus. And then she has to also evolve the capacity to remain loyal to the offspring, to risk her life for being or well-being during that period, to attach herself to it in order to give it a chance to survive within a threatening environment. So this necessitates a particular kind of attitude, which is reflected in the feminine type, in what we call femininity. Now this attitude is tolerant, docile, accepting, wanting to belong, wanting peace. It is attracted to order because order gives it a stable environment in order to carry out her job of having kids and raising them. That's why she's attracted to strong authority, to the masculine, which is an ordering element. As a representation of nature, a female is chaotic. She's unconscious, instinctive. She doesn't understand what she's doing. She feels things. She doesn't understand what she's doing rationally. She's not lucid about it. That's why a woman could fall in love one moment and then fall out of love the next, and without knowing why herself. She will explain it as a change of chemistry. She will say she fell out of love, and that will suffice for her. Given the attributes I just mentioned, it's easy to see why the feminine type is preferred by the system, and why it's promoted and nurtured, and why the females do well within authoritarian systems or uniforming systems such as the modern one, and why little boys have to be trained and repressed in order to behave and think like little girls, which creates an entirely other problem, type of schizophrenia, which I might get into in another video. So we see in any social groups a tendency towards the female internally. I mentioned this in another video. In a wolf pack, the weaker male, in order to be integrated within the wolf pack, has to experience a drop in testosterone. That is, it has to become more feminine in its attitude. In other species, the males are excluded altogether, such as in elephants and in lion prides and so on. Human beings, of course, use the lion or the primate approach. That is, they integrate the males, and then they pose this emasculation upon them. Now, the larger the group, the more pressure there is to be feminine, because there's more to tolerate. There's more to tolerate, and less of self-awareness is accepted, because self-awareness creates a consciousness which is resistant to integration. The simpler the mind is, or is maintained, the more easily it is integrated within a system. That's why we see in modern systems a dumbing down, not only amongst men, but females too. And when I say the system feminizes, I include females in this. That is, on top of being female, there's a pressure to be further feminized, to become prissy almost. Of course, there are displays of machismo, which I call hypermasculinity, or we can point to lesbianism. But like I said in the other video about males, being female is an attitude, a way of engaging the world. So whether you wear pants or strap on a gun, if you think like a female, you're a female. If you're attracted to a female sexually, that doesn't make you masculine. In fact, there's a lot of males, as I've noted, that are much more feminine than biological females. That is, the sexual aspect, intercourse, is but an element of what it means to be masculine and feminine. And in this case, whether you're a lesbian or you're a macho woman, if you think in a feminine manner, that is, you don't think outside the box, you submit to authority, you're attracted to order that you haven't created, you're submissive to it, you don't question it, then you are feminine. The armed forces are, when you go through boot camp, it's a process of emasculation. That is, the personality is broken down. It's shaped to obey commands without thinking. That is, it's emasculated. So whether you think being in the army is macho or not, I will tell you that it's an emasculating process, or else the armed forces will not be so effective or efficient. Being a free thinker, that is, challenging authority, thinking outside the box, being masculine, is not tolerated by any institution, including the system at large.